fellow barbarians. It is I, Alan Odinson, and this is the Barbarian Lounge podcast. I want to thank you guys for joining me today. We've got a great show lined up for you. I am riled up. I am excited. I'm ready to go. Mitacon in tow. Got it loaded up here, and I am ready to be fired out the gates. I've been sitting at the bullpen, snorting, kicking dirt, ready to just bust through that gate, and now the gate is open, and here I come. Well, let's get a few things out the way here before I fire at my first target. Our website. You can check out our host website at thebarbarianlounge.podbean.com. If you want to check out our exclusive website, it is thebarbarianlounge.com. You can go there. You can go to our store. We're going to be adding some stuff. Probably by the time you listen to this, it'll already be uploaded into the store. We're going to be adding some stuff into the store here soon. Right now, we've got some EDC bags. We're carrying the line of the different Mora knives. We've got those in there. The best bushcraft knife, I think, on the market today. And we're not getting any of that stainless steel crap. We've got everything we've got in there is carbon steel, razor sharp, ready to go. I carry several of them. And if you do not own a Mora knife, I highly suggest you get one. And what better place to get one than from the barbarianlounge.com store. All those purchases help support the show. I'm going to be adding some medical gear in there. If you listen to my class on the fight at Tactical Response, you will know how much stress I put on medical gear and the need for medical training. If anything, you need to at least learn how to apply a damn tourniquet. So we've checked a lot of different tourniquets on the market, and we're going to be adding some of the tourniquets that I believe are the best on the market at an affordable price, because I want you carrying them. We're not making a lot of money off these, but I want you, my listeners, if you're listening to this show, understand that you're part of this group. You are considered a brother, and I want you to have this gear to protect your life, save your loved one's life, maybe even save the life of someone else, if need be. So check all that stuff out at thebarbarianlounge.com. Go to our store there. You can also find all of our t-shirts and keep track of stuff like that on there. Also, you can check us out on iTunes. Give us a subscription, a comment, a rating. Boost us up to the ladder, to the top of the rung where this show deserves to be at. You can also listen to our show on Stitcher. Give a subscription there. Also, Tuesday nights, 8 p.m. to 9 p.m., you can find us on UCY.tv. Yes, a network was brave enough to pick up this show and go there and give the support. They're running a lot of the past episodes that we've already aired. However, there's a live chat that goes on, and you can tune in and talk to people live as the show is going on to discuss the content and discuss your experiences with the Barbarian Lounge. Our sponsors, OdinsonArchery.com. Traditional bows made from non-traditional materials. We've been adding a lot of new stuff there as well. You can get our Silent Assassin back quiver. It is it's the only quiver like it that I found on the market. Eliminates all the problems that back quivers tend to have, the rattling, the falling out. So despite what Lars Anderson will tell you, that if you do all this crazy jumping around fairy shit, that your arrows are going to fall out, guess what? Not with the Silent Assassin back quiver from Odinson Archery. So check it out there. We've also got our new Woodsman bow that's up there, as well as a brand new hybrid bow that is blending in wooden and PVC. So you're getting your traditional materials and your non-traditional materials to create a true one-of-a-kind hybrid bow. Go there and check that bad boy out. Also, if you listened to the show before, you know that one of our sponsors is Mitacon. That's right, MITO-CHONUSA.com, MitaconUSA.com. I always have my trusty cup right here filled with Mitacon. Got ice in it. I am riled up, man. This stuff, it's not an energy drink. Despite the massive amount of energy that I show you here, this is just me on a daily basis. But Mitacon actually slows my brain down a little bit and allows me to stay focused on what I need to focus on to get this show rolling in the manner that I get it rolling in. And as it stands right now, that bullpen door is open. Here I come. Let's jump into this content right now. Today we're going to be talking about, the topic for this episode is entitled A Time for Shephards. And I chose this specifically for things that I'm seeing across the world right now. I'm seeing it. You're seeing it right now. We're in the heat of an election cycle. We've got the horrible, evil witch, Hillary Clinton. She's running for president. We've got Mr. Donald Trump. Donald Trump is, they're saying he's behind the polls. I don't buy it. But we're going to talk a little bit about why the current political climate we're in, why the current socio-economic climate we're in, all these things combining the way I'm seeing men's lives run these days. Men and women both, really. But mainly in the masculine community, why this is a time for shepherds. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about we hear the three terms when it comes to the herd. We hear people talk about sheep, sheepdogs, and shepherds. So let's get a little bit of clarification right off the bat right here. Let's go ahead and break these things down. Let's talk about a sheep. When you think of sheep, what do you think of? You think of a massive herd of creatures, little fluffy puffball creatures, all crowded together, and one's following the other, and you know, it gets to the point where sheep will damn near follow each other off the side of a cliff just because the herd is doing it. So the sheep is that of the herd mentality. And the herd mentality is very, very dangerous because if the majority of the herd develops some sort of mental issue, and we see that in our modern day societal herds here, people walking around, whenever the herd develops an issue, the others will pick that issue up in order to blend in with the herd. Because when you do not follow the same pattern as the herd, you're going to be shunned from the herd. So what ends up happening is you get massive amounts of people, and we're using people in the term of sheep here, naturally. You get massive amounts of people who get in this idea of the go along to get along, just to blend in. You know, I want to be trendy. I want to follow the latest trends. I want to be just like Justin Blobler or whatever the fuck his name is on the radio. I want to be just like him. I want to be like the Kardashians. You know, a whore. So you run into all these different things with people doing absolutely insane things. I mean, you see some of the things that people copycat doing, and it's absolutely maddening to see. You think about whenever you have, you see it with mass shooters. You see a guy will go out and he'll shoot some people, and you know, of course, they'll blame it on the guns and not the psycho who was actually pulling the trigger. And then you'll see the warning of copycats, because this is the nature of the herd, a dysfunctional herd, and that's what we've got right now. That can be clearly evident just by looking at some of the psychosis of the liberal mindset, the liberal agenda that is out there. You've got the majority of millennials right now who are they're embracing socialism and communism. They're like, oh, it's great. I just saw a poll the other day where these people, they were questioning them about the history of communism. You know, tell us what you know in all of your 19 years on this planet. Tell us the massive amount of information you've managed to gather about communism and socialism. And they say, tell us about Mao Zedong. And they'll look at you, and they'll get this blank look on their face, and they'll go, well, I don't know who that is. Who's Mao Zedong? You don't know that the biggest mass genocidal leader in the history of the world? And of course they don't know. They go, Adolf Hitler. You're like, no. Hitler ranks way down in these rankings. Mao Zedong at the top. You ask him about Stalin. Tell me about Stalin. What do you know about Joseph Stalin? Oh, well, he was an ally in World War II, and you know, he helped fight back against Hitler and all that. Joseph Stalin ranks above Hitler in the level of death and destruction. Even after World War II, you saw the German people, many of who did not have any sort of skin in the game as it relates to what Germany was doing at the time. Those people, when the Russians came in, do you think the Russians said, you're now free from this horrible dictator? No. If you look at the documentary, which is all sourced, by the way, the documentary Hellstorm, if you look that up and watch it, you'll see that the German people were raped, killed, sent to prison camps after the war, even during the war, after the war as well, by Russia primarily. And guess who was leading that? Joseph Stalin, these gulags and everything. But see, the people don't realize these things. They don't understand the history of guys like Karl Marx. They walk around wearing these fucking Che Guevara T-shirts and shit. They walk around going, "Oh, Che, Che." Yeah, you know what the best picture of Che is? It's the one where he's lying dead with a hole in his head where he had been killed. That's the best picture you'll ever find of the guy. Because he was a murderer. He was a mass murderer leading a communist revolution. Communism's never saved anybody. Why do you think it fails? Constantly. Socialism. Guess what? There's a reason it fails. Look how wonderful it's doing in Venezuela right now. So right now you have this toxic mentality in the herd. And we're starting to see all this insanity starting to boil over into regular society right now. You see these groups that are following Hillary Clinton, and it doesn't matter what comes out. That WikiLeaks breaks this, WikiLeaks breaks that, and the lady got people killed in Benghazi. She had the overthrow of Libya, which armed and allowed ISIS to come into power. The threat they are right now. But guess what? Her followers are like, bah, bah, right to the polls the whole time. It's absolute insanity. This is the danger of the herd. This is the danger of the sheep. Those sheep who will do crazy things in order to fit in with the herd. You see it, you saw it with the, it's really pushed. This herd mentality is directed by the media. The media has always been the propaganda machine. It always has. After World War II, they realized that you couldn't call things propaganda because the Germans were calling things propaganda, and it became this idea where, well, we don't want to call it propaganda because people, so they changed it to public relations. If you've listened to some of my episodes on this, I've talked about this with Edward Bernays and the establishment of public relations. And the man admits that, we couldn't call it propaganda, so we called it public relations. And they use these different things through the media outlets to push agendas. Product placement in TV shows. I don't give two shits whether or not you're gay. I've got one of my best friends, a guy I consider a brother that I would take a bullet for, who is a homosexual man. And you know what? I don't care. But the thing is I can see with clear vision, clear eyes, I can see the product placement placed in movies. I can see the product placement placed in television shows where they're pushing this agenda. And despite what you want to believe about it, these things are designed to break up a traditional family structure. And you cannot deny that a traditional family structure is the most stable platform to build a family in. It just is. It always has been. There's a reason it works. Okay? And we saw the thing, we saw the whole agenda push with the fucking Caitlyn Jenner. You know how you spell Caitlyn Jenner? You know how you spell Caitlyn? B-R-U-C-E. That's how you spell Caitlyn. Bruce fucking Jenner. So they wanted to push this whole idea, this whole trans thing. I'm a non-binary trans. What the hell? We keep hearing this whole thing, and this. I'm giving you examples of this psychosis that's developed throughout the herd, and this is why it's dangerous. You also see this in powerful organizations. Powerful organizations will seek the people of the sheep mentality, and these groups can typically be led by a strong shepherd. As long as that shepherd is strong and he's got all the qualities necessary for a good, strong shepherd, you can actually have a very functioning herd. So at the end of the day, the level of psychosis that develops in the sheep is directly related to the level of psychosis, or the mental fortitude, if you will, of the shepherd. So you look at our nation right now, look at our leadership. Look at those people who are put on a pedestal as those we should look up to. These fucking court jesters out there like Caitlyn Jenner and fucking Miley Cyrus and all these other political pundits that have been pushed in front of us as the beacon of virtue, such as Hillary Clinton. Jesus Christ. I'm going to tell you something, people. If you don't remember the first years of the Clinton age, I implore you to go back and look again. All these movies, when she made that speech about the alt-right, that speech about the alt-right was not for street cred. All the alt-right was like, yay, oh boy, she mentioned us. Oh, Pepe, all the... No, that was not about street cred. That was a warning. If this bitch gets in power, she's coming. She's coming for you. She's coming to shut down. She wants to shut down shows like this. I put something on the Barbarian Lounge the other day where I had a nice individual going up and down my road that just happened to have their cell phone, kept switching sides, and they were going slow. And as soon as I walk outside, guess what? They sped off and they didn't come back. I don't know, man. You know, this show's reaching far and wide and people are sharing it. That's why I urge you to share it. We're striking back against this system because we're proving the people who are listening to this show, you don't want to be sheep. That's not your goal. Your goal is to be that of a shepherd. So let's talk about the other aspect people talk about. We hear the idea of a sheepdog. Take a sip of that mitocon there. We hear the idea of the sheepdog. People are like, oh, be the sheepdog, be the sheepdog. Let's talk about what a sheepdog does. A sheepdog, he looks a lot like a wolf. He's not a wolf, obviously, but the sheep kind of have a little bit of fear of him. They have a little bit of, they have a level of respect that only comes from fear. Okay? Because whenever the sheep get out of line, guess what the sheepdog does? He runs and nips at their heels to get them back in line. Now, the sheepdog does protect them from wolves. Understand that. That is his role. He is a protector of the sheep. So a lot of people will hear that, and they'll go, you know, I want to be a sheepdog. Well, your sheepdog falls under the category of your law enforcement and people in authoritative positions. I do not see this as a good role for society, for your average civilian population. The reason being is you have to understand that second part. Yes, you are the protector, but understand this, the shepherd's the protector as well. However, when the sheep get out of line, you nip them at the heels to keep them in line, to keep them in order. You keep them in line, if you will. Driving them. The sheepdog is what drives them to be sheared. We don't want that. That's not the goal that we want. Even if you take up the mantle of shepherd and you're leading your strong tribe of sheep, your sheepdogs are always going to be there on the outside, pushing those sheep to where you need them to go. I don't like that idea for a leadership. A lot of people will take that position as a leadership position, but understand that the sheepdog is still subservient to the shepherd. We don't want to be those types of people who control. I am not an advocate of control through fear, because control through fear leads to dissent. Dissent leads to overthrow. That's not the role of a good, strong leader. I've never liked the mentality of the sheepdog. So let's talk about the shepherd. What does the shepherd do? The shepherd is the guy who is making the decisions for the sheep. The shepherd controls the sheepdog to an extent, but the shepherd is the guy pulling all of the strings. He's the one making the moves in the best manner he can for the sheep. These are your leaders. Now, occasionally, do the sheep fall under a sort of tyranny of the shepherd? Yes, they do. However, a wise shepherd does not want to see the destruction of his sheep. He wants to see his sheep flourish. And the reason being is by them flourishing, this will help the shepherd to become stronger as well. It's a symbiotic relationship. If the shepherd loses all of his sheep to the wolves, well, guess what? He's out of herd. Now he's going to have to replace that herd. That's not a good, strong shepherd. Okay? The shepherd's going to keep watch. He's going to be there. He's going to be ready to protect his flock and lead them where need be. Sure, sometimes the decisions of the shepherd may not be beneficial to the sheep in their eyes. However, at the end of the day, the moves that shepherd is making is allowing them to flourish. So I want you, we're living in a time right now, I want you to be the shepherd. I want you to be the leader of your community, to the leader to your people, to the leader in your business. Understand this, when I use the terms of sheep, shepherd, and sheepdog, I'm not talking about just in in some sort of militaristic society, or where you've become Immortan Joe and you're running. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just in daily life of being the shepherd. Can you have the mentality and the mindset of a shepherd and still have a role similar to a sheep? Yes, you can. However, if you pull the correct moves out of your hat, you can begin to move up that ladder. And even in the role that appears to be that of sheep, you're making the moves of a shepherd. In your classic business structure, you have your employees. Your employees will fall into the category of sheep. Your shepherd would be more of your supervisor type positions. Your sheepdog would be more of your supervisor type positions, and your shepherd would obviously be the boss. Every business I have ever worked in, even as an employee, before I started my own thing, I always operated as a shepherd. And the reason being is I would have supervisors come to me, ask me opinions on how to run things. I would have the boss come to me and ask how to run things. Because you see, a lot of leadership in businesses, especially, I tend to find that a lot of them, especially in your corporations, a lot of them really don't have a grasp on how to do the job of the sheep. That's why they need the sheep. So, when you're a sheep and you're looking to change your status, what you start doing as an employee, what you start doing is you start learning the job of the shepherd. You start learning the job of the sheepdog, and before you know it, you start changing your status. But see, that's the difference in somebody who has a sheep or a shepherd mentality and someone who has a sheep mentality. Okay? We're skipping right over the aspect of the sheepdog because that's not where we want to be. That's the middle ground. Yeah, you got a little bit of control, but you're still subservient to the shepherd. But guess what? We want to move to that level. I've always done this. Every place I've always learned the job of other people. Because typically the type of personality I am, I'm able to pick things up pretty quick so I can move. So the job of the sheep, man, I can get that under control, no problem. And that's just because I put forth the effort. I know where I want to go. I want people to come to me for the answers. This is a term that I've talked about from SIOC that I've heard many times. The idea of being the feeder. I'm the guy who's pushing the buttons. I want to push the buttons because if I'm not, I'm on the receiving end. And I have to react to that which is pushing the buttons on me. I don't want to do that. That's not the mentality of a shepherd. If there's ever a time right now that shepherds are needed, this is it. I think back throughout my life, I think about where the status of the world in general has been. And if you look across it, I see where we are heading. And we're heading to a bad place, fellow barbarians. We are. We're heading there. It is only through the establishment of very powerful, strong leadership, strong shepherds, that we're going to get through that. That's the only way. Right now, you can't look to Washington for your leadership. It's not there. It's just not there. The way I see, if I'm looking at my crystal ball right now, if I got my crystal ball sitting in front of me, I see a November win for Hillary Clinton. I do. I see the push through the media. I see everything lining up. And it's probably not going to be a fair election. It's not. We've already seen it from the Democratic Party. It has. It's funny to listen to all these people bitch about how Donald Trump talks about the election being rigged. These are the same people who were bitching about how Bush stole the election from Al Gore. These are the same people that are now saying that Donald Trump says it's going to be rigged. They're like, what? Rigged? What is that? But these are the same ones that were bitching about Bush stealing it from Gore. So they know it exists. They're pushing this narrative as Hillary Clinton as the president. And let me tell you something. When she gets in there, they're coming. They're coming for us right now. The psychosis in the herd has been built up enough to get that bitch into power. And yes, Hillary Clinton, I'll call you a bitch right here on the airwaves. The moves have been made. It's only through a strong leader that we're going to get through this. And if you're listening to this show right now, you're a strong leader. You've got the makings to want to be better. You don't want to be the sheep. Strong, powerful tribes of men. They're the only ones that's going to lead us out of oblivion. Having too many sheep and people of the sheep mentality is why we're here right now. It's why we're here right now. It's why the liberal agenda is flourishing right now. And it's flourishing. It is. And, you could say when the election rolls around, you could say to yourself, if Hillary wins, which I think she's going to do, if she does win, people will say, well, it was rigged. Maybe, to an extent, but guess what? You cannot tell me that throughout your daily travels, in the area you're at, you cannot tell me that you have not seen a sufficient amount of psychosis in the herd to get that evil witch into power. It's there. It is there. If you cannot see it, you are blinded. You are blinded by this false light they're putting off. So right now, with the level of sheep that we have, what has built this up? What has really, truly built this up? You look at the dependency that people have. We just recently, if you've been following, we recently just made it through Hurricane Matthew that came through here. And I saw this level of dependency that people had. Just it was on display for all to see. We saw people running to get aid. Oh, I don't have electricity. What am I going to do? Oh, I don't have electricity. People were panicking and losing their minds about 3 days into not having electricity. Are you kidding me? We were a full week without electricity. And guess what? The Odinson clan, we were flourishing. All of my brothers that I kept up with through contacts, guess what? They were flourishing. They had gasoline. They had water. They had food. They had the ability to cook those things. They didn't have to run down to the local shelter and get a meal. They didn't have to run down. I saw the other day where the Red Cross came in to an area close here, one of these counties around us, who were hit equally as hard as we were, and they were giving out like $40,000 worth of food. And those who were requesting such food were those of the lower income class. They would be considered those who are of your urban flavor. And, I remember seeing a quote from the article that said, yeah, Miss So-and-so, she says that she lost all of her food in her refrigerator, and she's not going to be able to replenish it anytime soon. And I'm thinking, yeah, anytime soon, I know what that means. That means the first of the month when that SNAP benefits or that EBT card gets filled. That's when it's going to be filled. We made the joke the other day, me and my wife, who went grocery shopping, and we made the joke of, you could tell the difference. Those people who don't have a job and who are suckling off the establishment teat, they've got a buggy, sometimes two buggies, full of shit rolling it around. Whereas me and my wife, both of us business owners, small business owners at that, guess what we shop with? We shop with a fucking basket because we have to pay for our own shit. So you've got these sheep who have become utterly dependent on the system to give them what they need. Give me health care. Give me food. Give me electricity. Give me free rent. Give me. You know what? When that shit gets pulled back, there's going to be a problem. And it will eventually, because the system cannot support them but for so long. Right now we're in a limp. And when these people get it pulled back, guess what? They're going to come take from you and I. And that is when those leaders will rise up. Our nation right now, you see the youth. I've talked about the youth a lot. The youth has become this dependent class where they're begging for this. And we want free this and we want free that. Free college tuition. Tell me something. Tell me something, geniuses. Tell me this. Who's going to pay the teachers for your free college tuition? Who's going to pay them? Are they going to work for free? Do you work for free? You see, that's not the way economics works. You fucking college-educated morons. Congratulations. You've made it to the 13th grade. But guess what? You still don't have a basic grasp of how business works. People don't work for free. You can't get things for free. This is the reason that things like socialism and communism are failing. Another thing that's going to be a beneficial in the future when we're looking at strong leadership, you're going to have to look, honestly, especially with a prospective Hillary Clinton presidency, you're going to have to look for attacks from your own government. And yes, I'll say that right over the open airwaves because I know they're listening. I know they're keeping track of this. I know, let me tell you something. When they talk about the deplorables, guess what? Old Odinson's mixed in with them. You better believe that shit. You better believe that. Because I've got some history that I haven't even talked about on this particular show that I know that they know where I come from, who my relatives are. I'll just leave it at that, buddy. I'll just leave it at that, Barbarians. If you ever meet me in person, I'll tell you about it. A few of the people who've talked to me in person, who've listened to this show, have wanted to know, and I've talked to them, and their minds are blown. Okay, I've got there's some people in my life who have seen some shit. It's no shock to me. My people in my family get harassed by certain lettership agencies. We'll just leave it right there. So understand that as I talked about with that whole thing with the alt-right, Hillary made that alt-right speech. Let me tell you something. That's a fucking warning. That's a warning. She is coming. What happened under the first Clinton regime? Brady Bill, assault weapon ban, the massacre at Waco. If you don't think Waco was a massacre, and if you don't understand that situation, you need to look at the documentary. You can find it online. Matter of fact, you know what, guys? I'll put a link in this show, in the show notes page. I'll put a link for that, for the documentary Waco Rules of Engagement. You watch that and understand they're coming. Ruby Ridge, the massacre of a man's family, shooting his wife while she was breastfeeding. That was done under the Clinton regime. All of these things, they're coming this way. And when she made that alt-right speech, she put a target on all of us. All of you. And it's only going to be through strong leadership that you're going to be able to flourish. That we're going to be able to keep doing what we're doing. Because I've seen the attacks. I've seen what happens. I know what happens. I watched, I will throw this little bit of tidbit in. I believe I've talked about this slightly, but my father was into the old school militia movement in the early 90s, and the militia's got a totally bad rap. I've got some friends that are currently still serving in some local militia, and I'm going to get them on the show to talk about it. But the militia movement has gotten a really bad rap, and that all of that was created from one little simple thing: Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City, which there's a lot of questionable things about that. Understand who that happened under as well. Oklahoma City was a method of bringing down the militia movement. I watched the militia movement die overnight. It literally died overnight after this thing happened. And I'm just going to say it. The Clintons were behind that shit. They were. I'm trying to pull punches here, but you know what? I'm going to have to take the gloves off. I'm taking the glove. You know what? Let me get this Mitacon here. Let me get this Mitacon in my system. Let me tell you something. They orchestrated that thing. Okay? I'll just say it. Check out some of the documentaries that are available. Credible documentaries such as A Noble Lie. Check those things out. I'll just say it. Look into that. Find out what you will. Look up Terrence Yankee. Look up that guy, a highly decorated police officer who reported the things he saw and was kidnapped, tortured, murdered, and they found him with all the tendons, different tendons in his body cut, so the man was restrained without even having handcuffs. So I'll just say that. Let me just tell you, they're coming, okay? And only through strong leadership is this going to enable us to survive. It really is. There's a lot of people who are stepping up right now. And it's only going to be to those people that we're going to be able to do what needs to be done to save ourselves. And I'm not even looking at from a broad spectrum of saving this nation. I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the ability to save ourselves, save our people, because there is a war against our people. All this shit that's been going on in places like Ferguson and Charlotte and areas like that. Let me tell you something. Those were racially motivated crimes. Racially motivated crimes. And if any of these groups who claim to be standing up for the European culture, if any of them had any real skin in the game, they would have mobilized to protect those people in that area. Because there's going to come a point, you have to understand, there's going to come a point where you're actually going to have to get out from behind the computer. I'm going to have to step out from behind this mic. And I'm going to have to suit up. I'm going to have to suit up and head to those lines. And if you're not ready to do that, I'm not even sure why you're listening to this show. Because that's what we're about. We're about action here. A lot of people get out and they want to talk. They want to talk all this nonsense about how they're doing this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. But you know what? They fold every time. As soon as the pressure gets high, they toss in them cards and they fold the deck. They're not willing to place that gamble out there for a stronger future for their families, for a stronger future for their people. There's going to come a point where you're going to have to do something. I can't even tell you what that is right now. I can't. Because, as I said, certain alphabet agencies are probably listening. Strong leadership is going to be necessary. Just even if let's just say that everything after November becomes glorious. Everything's great. Trump wins, and I'm not even going to say that after a Trump win that things are magically going to be fixed, because it's not. That's naive to think such things. There may even be certain elements, maybe actually even holding off an imminent collapse to wait for a Trump victory. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I do support a lot of things Donald Trump says. However, you would be naive to think that he does not have tyrannical tendencies. So be mindful of those things as well. So let's just say after November everything goes great. You still need this element of shepherdmanship. I'll use that terminology, shepherdmanship, even in business and in your daily life. I talked about this a little bit earlier, how I've always worked hard to move to that level. And if anything, it's just establishing a better life for yourself. You're controlling your own destiny. Too many people live their lives as just go along to get along. I'm going to get up, I'm going to go to work, do what I need to do, come home, rinse, repeat. But they're never seeking to move their place up. I've told you before, my fellow barbarians, this show is not for the sheep. This show is for the shepherds. And if you're not a shepherd yet, then by gods, I'm hoping that you're listening to my words and you're building yourself to get there. You're seeking to move your place higher. Not this go along to get along mentality. That's not what we do here. We're conquerors. Our job is to conquer. To move up that chain of power that all of us have the right to strive for. Nobody has the right to keep you down. You sacrifice that every day when you yield. You can't yield. You can't yield to this system. You can't yield to those that are holding the power over you. You give them that strength. Make yourself so valuable that even people above you cannot afford to see you go. You're upping your value in the game. You're upping your stakes. So, I want to see people. I want to see people striving forward to move into this level of leadership, to take over those reins. Take over those reins when need be. Because there are going to be those, when your leadership is needed, there will be lost sheep coming to you. When they wander up, you need to be able to help them. You need to be able to make correct decisions to lead them where they need to go. So what are the qualities? What are the qualities of a good shepherd? Now, obviously, there's a lot of different qualities that could be included in this, but I'm just going to toss some off the top of my head. First thing is you need to understand your position. Understand the importance of your position. What is the value of your position that you have? Establishing guidelines of how you need to lead the people and what they're going to seek from you. Once you have this grasp of the position that you've attained, once you have this grasp of the position that you are holding and what is expected of you as a leader, as that shepherd, you need to be that guy. You need to be that guy who is willing to hold up that mantle. You need to be the guy that they're going to be able to put all of their trust into. You need to have a level of not reacting emotionally to situations that you're met by. Do you think that the shepherd, when he sees that he has to remove some sheep from his herd in order for the herd to flourish, do you believe that the shepherd goes, oh man, he's so cute and cuddly and I like him, and oh man, I just hate seeing that? No, the shepherd has to make those decisions for his people. The leader has to make those same decisions. If you've got a guy that you like in your group, but he's fucking up, you've got to be able to handle that. You have to be able to detach emotionally and make those decisions. If you have to send your men into battle, send them into a bad situation, you have to be able to make those decisions without emotion attached to it. Sound decisions. Good, sound, solid decisions are qualities you want to look for in a good leader. Qualities you want to be able to establish. It's very easy, especially under times of stress. I saw it even popping up in myself to an extent when I was when we were in this disaster we had here. We took a bit of a hit. But I found myself even starting to react emotionally to situations that were around me. But there were people who were contacting me, even my own people who were near me, people in my community who needed me not to be there as that emotional leader. So I had to sit back and get that shit under control and make the correct decisions that needed to be made to help the people in my community, to help the people in my household, and to help my brothers when they needed it. They needed an Odinson on this end that when they contacted me and said, oh my God, my roof blew off the house, what am I going to do? They didn't need me on this end to go, oh my God, oh shit, your roof blew off, okay, everybody okay. They didn't need that. They needed a guy that could go, okay, your roof blew off, all right, do you have a tarp? Do you have any, or is your family safe? Are they okay? Do you need a place to go? Are you all right? Okay. How about, do you have homeowners insurance? Can your homeowners insurance cover this? Do you have a tarp? Do you have any means of securing a cover to protect you from the storm right now? They needed somebody there making those decisions for them. And that's what a strong leader does. Okay? There are strong leaders that even I look up to, and you'll see me at times. I'll go to those people because they are more authoritative on the position than I am. And vice versa. They come to me when I have more authority on a position than they do. And this is an alliance. And we've talked about alliances on this show before. Alliances are when strong leaders come together and their groups can operate together to go towards a common goal. A good leader has the ability to incite passion in his people. And passion is very different from emotion. I find that sometimes when people start looking at this whole don't be emotional idea, they take it to the far end. They go way past where they need to go, and then they become this emotionless robot. And you start talking to them, and it sounds like you're talking to fucking Terminator, right? You say, you ask them something, they're like, affirmative. Yes, we are operating right now. It's like, I'm like John Connor. I'm like, you can't say affirmative or some shit like that. You got to say, no problemo. Shit like that. I can't stand talking to people who've become this like emotionless robot because they're trying way too hard to not react emotionally. I want people that have some sort of passion. One of the things I pride myself on is always when I start talking about topics that really get me going, that really get me fired up. I like to incite passion in the people who listen. I'm hoping if you listen to this show, that's one of the things you appreciate, because I love expressing it over the airwaves. A passion in my voice, a passion to want to push you forward, a passion to build leaders. Passion is not emotion. When you have controlled emotion, because some people react emotional, and then you have controlled emotion. Controlled emotion is nothing more than passion for what you're doing. Okay? You need to have a level of passion in your life in everything that you try and move towards. You got to have a level of passion. Even when you want to move up your status in life, there has to be a passion for that. You have to have a zest for life that wants you to grow and move your status up in the ranks. A good leader also needs to lead by example. I cannot stand, it drives me insane to see someone who puts themselves in a leadership position who does not lead by example. It's mind-boggling to me. And what's really mind-boggling to me is when you have sheep that are willing to follow a leader who does not lead by example. When a leader tells you he's going to do something, if he doesn't do it, he's not a good leader. Plain and simple. You cannot have these people leading you, because that tells me that they're not authentic. And we do not want to follow an authentic leader. In the same way that you do not want to live an inauthentic life, you do not want to follow a leader like that, because all of the things they're telling you, that tells me, if I've got a leader that's telling me you need to do this, 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 and this, and he's supposed to be leading me into battle, all that tells me is that when the shit hits the fan, he's going to be the first one retreating. Okay? A good leader also needs to be, I've heard this term, I believe it was Tom Kyer who said this. I heard it also from the Pressure Project. As well, but you need to be that guy that you would call when you need something, the guy that you would want to be there, no matter what. You want to be, I would love for people to say, when shit hits the fan, during the hurricane, I want them to say, man, I wish Alan Odinson was here. They get a flat tire, I wish Alan Odinson was here. That's the thing. That's the thing that you want to be. You want to be that guy. And the way to be that guy is you need to start pushing yourself. You need to start pushing yourself to develop the skills. There's a reason that people want to call that guy, because he's the guy that knows how to do shit. My dad was always that guy. I do not think that my dad had great. There's certain leadership qualities he lacked, and he used to tell. I'm not just saying this to speak ill of him. And my father used to tell me this. He would tell me this, and he would say, "You know what, son? Don't do this. Don't be that. Don't do what I did." That's what a good father would do. But he was always that guy you would call, because my dad was a scholar. He was a man that always. He was the guy that always had his nose in a book. There wasn't internet back then when he was growing up, so he always had his nose in books. He had a massive library of books, and he knew how to do shit. Be that guy. My joke, whenever my dad passed away, there was I made the joke at his funeral. I told a lot of jokes when I was giving a eulogy for him, because that's just what I do. That's what he would have expected me to do, because that's my personality when it comes to manners such as that. I give powerful speeches with jokes interspersed. So one of the things I used to say about my dad was before there was Google, it was always call Roger. There was no Google. He was Google at the time. People always called him to when they needed. Hey man, my alternator went out in my car. Let's call Roger. Oh man, my gun keeps constantly jamming on me, and I think there's something broke in it. Call Roger. That was always the way to go. He was just that guy. So you need to strive every single day to become that guy. Learn. I tell people this all the time, and I follow it myself. You need to strive to learn something new, no matter how insignificant it may be. You need to strive to learn something new every day. If you do that throughout the year, 365 new skills you have acquired every year. So think about the long game. A leader also needs to embrace the way of strategy. If you listen to the episode I did on the Book of Five Rings, I talked a lot about embracing strategy. And that strategy that's a broad spectrum of strategy. You need to embrace a strategy The same strategies you're going to use in warfare are the same strategies you're going to use in life. Same strategies you're going to use in business. Okay? If you look at a lot of businessmen, they will read the Art of War. They'll read the Book of Five Rings. They read these, even though those things are not directly related to business. Life is war. Life is war. And if you're not out there fighting, you need to know the strategies that are going to push you through this life. A lot of people just want to take the mentality of sitting back and waiting for things to come to them. Guess what? That doesn't happen. I lived the majority of my life doing that. And I got nowhere. I was always that of the sheep. I'm telling you guys, if you don't know me from the past, you wouldn't know this. But I was always that go along to get along guy. I was not that guy. I wasn't. And I made a decision. To do something about it. I made the decision to start businesses. I made a decision to start this podcast. I made the decision to take control of my life. And I didn't just fly into it half-assed. That's not what you do. You have to have strategy. You have to play the game. One of my recent obsessions right now has been poker. I used to play poker when I was in high school. We used to play for money. Sorry, Mom, but that's where all my lunch money went. We used to play poker for money, and I wasn't really like totally into it and really studying everything. But recently, I've gotten into poker, and I've just really been studying the books and the strategy. It's kind of become my obsession. It's my downtime thing. And one of the things I've realized with poker is the immense amount of strategy that goes into it. Because a lot of poker is not just playing the game itself, but it's playing the people. And the same thing goes in life. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm excelling at it as I'm picking it back up, is that a lot of the strategies that I've learned from martial arts, a lot of the strategies I've talked about in Book of Five Rings, in Art of War, all these things that I've encompassed through all these episodes, all these strategies I impart to you, all these things are playing out in the game of poker. And you really have to take kind of a poker mindset. You think about how the poker player, how he plays the game. He cannot play emotionally. If he plays emotionally, well, he's going to make rash decisions, and it's going to hurt him. He's going to lose a lot of money. That bankroll is going to go away really quick. The poker player also needs to be that guy. He needs to have a toolbox of skills that he can utilize. And he needs to know all the newest trends, the latest plays. The poker player, a skilled poker player, what separates the pros from the amateurs is the guy who pushes the action. He's the guy that's pushing the buttons. He has a passion for the game. He has a passion that he pushes through. Even though he's not playing emotionally, he can still play the game passionately. Think about that. Really grasp that. He also understands his position on the table. And last but not least, probably one of the strongest elements of leadership that you need to embrace is trust. If you have no trust in your people, you have no leadership. I remember hearing a speech from Colin Powell. Colin Powell was giving a speech, and they asked him about leadership. And he said he was told by a general or whatever, I don't remember exactly who told him this, but said he was told there at Fort Benning. He asked him about leadership. He said, "How do I build?" He asked the guy, "What's the most important element of getting people to trust me or people to follow me?" That was what he said. What's the most important element for getting people to follow me? And he was told, trust. And he's like, really? Trust? Trust is the most powerful, most important thing. He's like, even when they have to go to these horrible places. And the guy told him, he said, yes, trust. He said, if you have enough trust in your people, they will follow you, even if it's just out of curiosity. And that's absolutely the case I found. Every time I've attempted and maintained in the past when I did not understand these ways that I'm imparting to you now. When I've attempted to lead a group, all of those failings have never been because of the group. Those failings were because of me. And it was through poor decision making. Sometimes it was even through poor choosing of people in the group. Yes, I even take blame for that. Because I knew right off the bat the type of people I was getting involved with. The type of people I was bringing into the fold. And I knew what tendencies they had. However, I didn't read the table very correctly. And I thought, maybe they'll change. Maybe they've changed. You know, they've told me this, but I knew their actions were different. Establishing trust among your people, among your peers, is a element that a lot of people tend to miss. It's something I've talked about with the noble virtues. It's a level of honor. I do not believe in selective honor. You know, I decide when I'm going to be honorable and when I'm not. No. Because people will follow your people will follow your actions. They will judge your actions. And your level of trust amongst them is going to start to waver when they start seeing differences, inconsistencies in the way that you carry out your daily life. Okay? That does not push a level of trust amongst your people. If you have the trust of your people, they will follow you. They will. And I think it's something vital for you to really think about. Think about the level of trust you have amongst people. Think about the level of trust you've established in the things you do. Is your word your bond? A lot of people, they'll tell you that their word is their bond, but the things I see, I don't know. That's one of the reasons the leadership is starting to fail right now in this nation. There's no trust amongst the leaders. People just don't trust them. And can you blame them? Can you blame them in the least bit? The climate we're in right now is begging for wise, strong leaders to step up to the table. You're out there. I know you are. I know you are. As I've said many times, just by listening to this show, you're proving to me that you're willing to step up to the table. You're willing to make the moves necessary to be a leadership in your household, to be a leader in your community, to be a leader amongst your people, to be a leader to those who are going to come to you in the time of distress when they need someone strong to stand before them. You have those qualities. The question is, are you willing to cultivate them? The seeds have been planted right here in this show. This show, even in past episodes, we've talked about qualities similar to these. I've planted those seeds. Those seeds are going to die if you're not willing to water them. If you're not willing to pick the fruit that's going to grow from them. You have to be willing. There's a willingness that comes to this, that comes with this. You have to be willing to learn the skills. You have to be willing to play the game. You have to be willing to have some skin in the game. Lead your people if need be. If you exude the qualities of a good, strong leader, you will bring in strong sheep. You'll bring in strong people willing to follow you. You'll build a strong tribe. Weak tribes are easily spotted due to weak leadership. It always comes from a weak leadership. A leadership that crumbles under the pressure. Thank you guys for joining me. I've enjoyed the hell out of this show. Now, fellow barbarians, the lounge is closed.